Okay, y'all, let's just have a real conversation. Because I just found out that my granny was asymptomatic. It took them multiple days to notify family because everybody's locked out. And then we also found out that they had also created a My Sharona Cyrus wing in this nursing home to accept elderly people from all the surrounding counties to place them in this wing. Number one, why did they do that? Because we have no local hospital, so now the nearest hospital is an hour and a half away. We only have 5 ambulances. Yes, 5. 5. And the ambulance system was bogged down transporting these elderly people with this horrible disease and virus back and forth to ERs to be checked or hospitalized. So the local issues that happened that otherwise would have been just an oopsie turned into a oh my god, and we had a greater loss of life than we would have had normally. So why did they do that? That doesn't, I mean, we had the least resources. We were the most rural, the hardest to access, and had the fewest staff. Why did they do that? And why did they not tell the families up front? Makes me wonder. But it also makes me wonder because when they tested her, she went through like 9 tests in 14 days. The first one was negative, the first one was positive, so they decided she was asymptomatic. Then they decided they wanted to have a tiebreaker, so they did it again. Then they said, well, she's asymptomatic, so we're not going to pay attention. Well, then they started testing her literally every other day. She went through like 9 tests in 14 days. And then when they wanted to release her, they wanted to do another test. Well, then they needed to do another test. Well, then they needed to do another test because the other 2 contradict themselves. Okay, she had like 7 or 8 positive tests. So was that placed under one personal, ID profile? That this one person had had multiple tests? No, it was just loaded onto the statewide data to where all these tests, and so the positive tests, even though they were all my grannies, showed up as new positive cases, and everybody went crazy. And we're wondering why there's a huge boom in new cases. It's because they're testing people, I mean, Jesus, 50 times a day. So I just, some things are kind of screwballing me here. I'm just like, that doesn't make sense. Why doesn't everybody stop and think about this? It's because they're moving the threshold of fear. In counseling, when people had a huge phobia, it meant that their fear threshold was very close and they didn't have enough room to logically think about things. We would do breakthrough training to get them through their phobia so that we can move their fear threshold further away so they had more comfort, more space to be comfortable, and more space to make positive decisions. Well, guess what? They're just simply just reversing that in society today. So all the bad news you hear and all the fear mongering, it just is, they're moving the threshold, the fear threshold, so that they keep you in a more anxiety-ridden state, so that you are looking for leadership and someone that makes you feel like it's under control, rather than trying to logically sort things out and make your own decision. So be aware, question everything, read the book, How to Lie with Statistics. Bill Gates read it, you better read it too. And know that, something, there are some really easy ways to answer some of these big questions as to like, hey, why Tennessee has seen a rise of a boom and test. My one grandmother literally got tested like 9 times. Imagine if they're doing that to every person in the state that has this or is asymptomatic. So how many of those thousands are just repeats? We need to know these things, and we deserve to know these things. Ask the questions. Move your fear threshold yourself and say, doggone it, it's going to stay right there. I get to dictate that. See yous.